Hello, everybody. You guys were expecting Steph tonight. I hope that you're not too disappointed. It's Eve here. But Steph is here. How's it going, Steph?
Hey Eve, doing well.
Yeah, what are you up to?
Just basically being your backup for today in case your internet connection is not stable enough. I'll take over. But if you want to lead the way today, go right ahead.
Awesome. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in China right now, and said, the internet connection where I am is not stable. So if ever my internet connection cuts out, Steph will take over. But the idea is to do the next half hour with you guys, talk a little bit about what happened today on the BP call, give you a little bit of idea of what's been going on in my trip so far, and as well what's going on in the channels in terms of governance, because there's a couple of hot topics there. So the first thing is we just had a BP call, and if you did not follow, it will be the last official weekly BP call for a while. What I mean by that is that there was a proposal that we remove the BP calls on a weekly basis, and that they come simply instead when needed. So whenever there's a security issue, BPs get together anyways and fix the issue. But these calls were becoming a little bit redundant, in a sense that whenever we would meet anyways, and then to that needs to be done, but this work is going to be done in worker proposal, in worker working groups. What I mean by that is that should, for example, EOS Nation have a particular project that they are interested in, we start working on it, and at some point, if that particular project would require a vote sometime in the future, well, we would host a call, but we would let everybody know that we're working on this project. We're thinking of hosting a call. We give a tentative date and time, and we try to rally as many people as possible to come at that time. And then as many people come, and then the idea is to then sell your idea later on. But it doesn't need to be as formal as what it was before. And the advantage with this is that we're in DPoS. And so it's just pushing out that decentralization of people can work on ideas. We don't need to come together once a week to hash out what's going to happen. Those calls were incredibly useful during the mainnet launch because we did want to have one unified launch. But at this point, the calls were becoming pretty dry, pretty long, and somewhat redundant. I mean, a lot of the content on the call was very administrative. We weren't really making any decisions. We weren't really talking um, about next steps. It was really just presenting some ideas, all of which can be done in decentralized fashion. So that was the one discussion that we had today. There was also a second discussion that we had concerning whenever we do votes. So for those of you who've been following, we've had two votes so far on the chain. The first vote was the RAM vote, where we increased the RAM increase at a rate of 1 kilobyte per block. I believe that the last AMA that I did 2 weeks ago or so, I presented that. The latest one, still pending, I believe, is I'm not too sure about this. I'm not sure if it's pending still, but it's the second proposal for RAM. So to decrease the account creation cost of 500 terabytes, that's still going. What we had on the call in terms of discussion today was right now, the only people that are voting on this are the top 21 at the current times that the vote is initiated. And typically these votes last for a period of 7 days. However, as we know, in 7 days, there's often movement in and out of the top 21. And with having this in and out in the top 21, it's quite possible that by the end of the week or by the end of the 7 days, you might have people that voted in favor or against that are no longer in the 21. Therefore, their vote would not count at the time that the vote is recorded, in the sense that whenever we reach that 15, that magic number. So what was proposed, it seems as though the idea is instead of only including the top 21 in the vote, it would include the top 30, which would give a better chance, I guess, for movement to, I guess, more allowing of movement within that 7 day period, so that should at the end of the 7 days, whenever the vote is recorded or prior to that, if the 15 is reached, should some people have been out, it's possible that people that were in previously had voted in favor or against it. The vote would still be recorded in that sense. So we did talk about that. That was pretty interesting. Otherwise, the call was possibly the shortest call we've ever had so far. It lasted 17 minutes. It was very, very quick. The hot topic really, and this is how kind of boring the call was, Denis, our CTO, got a haircut, and Josh from EOS Canada got a haircut. That's kind of what it was all about at the end. So just a little bit of humor there. Otherwise, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I know that some of you are regulars here. I can see some names that I recognize on the side. If you don't know how, if you look on the left side of your Discord, you will see a channel. So pound key, ask questions here. Go in that part, type in your questions. Hello, Elim. Hello, Innova Crypto. Who else is there? I think those are the only two messages that I see right now. So yeah, if you have any questions, ask your questions. Otherwise, I will now go to the next part of what I want to talk to you about. I'll give you a short summary of what I've been doing in Asia so far. So right now, I have been in I've been in Shanghai for the last 4 days, 5 days. But previously to this, I flew into Beijing. I then went to Seoul, back to Shanghai, to Chengdu. I'm back in Shanghai right now. Sunday, I'm leaving for Xiamen. And after Xiamen, I'm heading back to Beijing. And my whole trip this time, this whole trip will last 29 days total. Is my trip this time. So it's quite lengthy. The last time I was here for 21 days, so 3 weeks, and I'm here for 4 weeks. And I just want to give a little summary of what I've done so far. So the first day, landed in Beijing, and the first group that I met with was Huobi, because Huobi is a large player. They're an exchange. They are the largest exchange in China, and I want to go talk to them. So I've been talking to them in the background, and I had the opportunity to go visit them and sit with them, speak with them, and kind of talk about what our role is as a block producer that's focused on community engagement, and kind of see what their role is and what they want to do in the ecosystem, which role they want to play. Seeing as there's such a large exchange, they do hold quite a bit of votes, and at times exchanges have been controversial, and at time their voting portal has perhaps been controversial as well. So I wanted to talk about that. And I want to talk about as well, they have a unique opportunity being an exchange. They have a unique opportunity in this ecosystem to be able to help in particular ways that maybe regular block producers or non-exchanges can, because they have access to so much funds. One of the ways that they're doing this is they are helping companies, or I guess products, list on their exchange, and they're looking at holding some type of, I guess, filter. The filter would come through potentially other block producers or known community members that would be able to filter projects, because currently the listing of a project on an exchange, so if you have a token and you want to list it on an exchange, the fees vary. But the fees vary, from what I've been gathering so far, the fees vary between 1 to 5 million US dollars. And so a large part, a significant part of the money that is raised during an ICO for a particular token is for the listing exchange fee. And the reason why the fees got so high is simply because there's so many projects, and it's a way for the exchanges to filter out the projects that are more serious than others. So what they say is, well, if the project is able to raise significant capital, then that somewhat correlates to the fact that the community sees value in it. And if the community sees value in it, most likely it's a better project. We can list it on an exchange and it won't damage the reputation of our exchange. The problem with that is that it becomes quite a money game, and you're removing some actors that have good projects but simply cannot afford the $5 million, let's say, listing fee. So we've been working with them on that. I've been working in the background. I don't have anything to report right now. Stay tuned, but it is something that they're working on. So we wanted to talk with Huobi about that and what the possibilities are for them. So that was one of the things. The other thing that we talked to them about was that they have a dApp incubation fund, and they control, I might be wrong with them now, roughly 200 million US dollars in their fund. And they're looking to sponsor some good projects. And so if you know any good projects, reach out to Huobi Pool, and they do have a fund. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll accept your projects, but it is something, so it's good to know. The next thing, I went to Seoul. I already talked about it, so for those of you who checked my first vlog, I went to Seoul. I did the conference day on the first day, the unconference day on the second day. Then we headed off to Shanghai. We did the family day. So I don't want to get into too much detail there, because go check out our vlog. Go check out YouTube, EOS Nation, click the like button, pound on the subscribe. Go check us out. That's awesome. You'll be able to see kind of what we did there. A lot of talks about governance. Obviously, governance is kind of my thing. And so a lot of it was governance talks that you'll find in that video. Very interesting. And I'll get back to that later. And when I want to give you an update of what's been going on in the Telegram channels. A lot of it is governance. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. I still see that there are no calls right now, but thank you very much for for having posted the YouTube link to the BP call today. Thank you very much. And then thank you very much, Yves, for posting our YouTube channel. And I would assume that that's the first vlog that I did. So after leaving Shanghai, family day, really good, hosted by 3 great friends, EOS Gravity, EOS Cannon, and Meet One, really good event. EOS Seoul, shout out to Node One. So Node One in Korea, go give these guys a boost. These guys did some amazing work. Santosh and Han and the rest of the team at Node One, amazing work of what they did to be able to pull off that conference, that scale, flawlessly in 3 weeks, with having all of these people. We had, not sure the number, but let's say 50 or so VPs from all over the world. This was amazing, and it was a great event. Very, very, very well organized. Amazing speakers, good panelists, good moderation. Everything was on time. Amazing event. Next thing, we went to Chengdu. So Chengdu, for those of you who don't know, that's where EOS Nation's Chinese offices are located. Yes, we do have offices in China, and we had one of our ambassadors, Martin, who ended up becoming our regional director for Asia. So he's in Chengdu. So I went to spend some time there. Last time during the launch, I was in Chengdu for about a week and a half, maybe a week and a half. So I was back there. What was interesting in Chengdu this time was I got to do events that were pretty interesting. The first thing that I did was I went to meet with StartEos. So StartEos, another big player that kind of came out of nowhere. They're based in Chengdu. And their claim to fame when they first came out is they have a really, really good wallet. Their wallet attracted a lot of people right from the beginning. It was very well built, and it's a voting portal, all in one, very cool product, super easy to use. And so I'd seen the demo. I thought it was interesting. They invited us to their grand opening. So Martin had gone prior to me coming to Asia. I went and talked to them, and the talk was so good. We ended up staying there for about 6 hours or so. I spent some time with the CEO, the CFO, and then I spent a lot of time with the COO. And we kind of talked about their operations. We talked about what their role is as well in the ecosystem, because there were some rumors flying around that they had tried to do some vote exchange. And for those of you who don't know, you cannot do vote exchange in EOS. The rule is quid pro quo, and so you're not able to buy votes. And the idea was that apparently StartEos was calling people and basically telling them, if you vote for me, I'll vote for you. So we addressed that right away from the very. It was an interesting start to the meeting, but we did address it right away. I just went straight at it and told them, listen, this is not how we can do business in EOS. This is not good for the overall health of the ecosystem. It's not good for the long-term growth of the ecosystem. So we talked about that. One thing that I quickly realized that StartEos really not bad players at all. So StartEos come from the mining background. They're one of the serious miners in China, and basically they just don't know. So I mean, they're not from a DPoS background. They're from a POW, so proof of work background, and they just really didn't know very many things in the very beginning. And so we talked a lot about that. We talked about how EOS Nation aims to be a bridge builder between the East and the West, and how EOS Nation aims to be the educational hub of the EOS ecosystem. And so we spoke at great lengths with them, and they took a bunch of notes, and they even put in the notes that EOS Nation told them that they were effectively trying to trade votes in the beginning. So it was really interesting because they did really pay attention. They did really listen. They did genuinely seem like a good player. And it was was really interesting to talk to them about governance. It was interesting to talk to them about some of the features in EOS that I consider very, very basic, in the sense that I've known about for a long time, and some of them were just not really they weren't familiar with some of these concepts. And so we spent a lot of time talking about reg, about the constitution, about ECAF, about arbitration in general, just about the whole governance aspect of, because they come from a POW, from proof of work. For miners, this is not a thing, right? So for all about educating them, and we have a long list of items that we went through with them, and now we kind of have a working agenda. So concrete steps that we ask them to take in order to be able to use their power or their respective position in this ecosystem to do good, because they have access to so many resources. One of the cool things that they worked on, like I said, there was the wallet, but and the software version, but they're also working on a hardware wallet, able to get a bunch of samples. So I got a couple of copies of version 1. I got multiple copies of version 2, and this little thing is called the block. It's for the Americans out there, it's about 1 inch by 1 inch square. For the rest of the world who uses the metric system, it's about 2.5, 3 centimeters by 2.5, 3 centimeters. And it's a really cool device, either by the version 2 or by NFC version 1, and you can actually pair them up together. So super cool, you're able to pair them up. I didn't really try it yet, but they're working on version 3. They want to really improve the look and feel of the device. So we went through that. Anyways, that's just one of the cool things I wanted to talk about. Anyways, so much to talk about EOS, Start EOS. Like I said, spent 5 hours with them. A lot of work remaining to do with them, just because they just don't know. But I genuinely believe that they're good intentions, and yeah, check them out. Start EOS. Next thing I did was a fireside chat, and that's where I did, for those of you who looked at the vlog that Elam posted, I did a fireside chat. So these are our friends, Startup Grind in Chengdu. Startup Grind is I guess a startup incubator. Not really a startup incubator. They promote featured speakers for startups. So they're part of Google Entrepreneur and TEDx. And so I was their featured speaker this month. So they do one featured speaker globally per month, and I was the featured speaker. So we did a fireside chat. It was about an hour chat. I was interviewed by 2 people. There was a large crowd. The crowd at the end were able to ask some questions, and really the focus was, a big part of it obviously was EOS Nation, but coming from a startup point of view, they wanted to know my journey, how I became to be where I was today. And then anyways, they had a couple of quick round questions at the end and everything. Quick trivia, for those of you who didn't know, one of the questions that they asked was, what was your, I guess, which book is your most influential book or something like that? And I said, The Little Prince by Saint-Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So little trivia there. Good talk with them, really good guys. Startup Grind. The last time they hosted us, when we did our first Shanghai meeting, Chengdu meeting, sorry, they hosted us at Startup Bootcamp. So that was very cool. And I see that Elam said, I would say that that's part of it, but not necessarily. The language barrier definitely is an extra step, but a lot of it is, in their case, in the startup case, just because they come from a proof of work background. They're miners. Miners have no rules. The rule is buy more computers, have more hash power, mine more blocks. That's pretty much it. So there's no constitution, there's no governance aspect to a POW chain, right? So for them, it's really just the complete lack of knowledge of basic things that we take for granted at this point, being in a governed blockchain. Hello, Denny. I can hear that Denny is talking. All right. Next thing, I went to Tech Park. Super interesting. So we got invited. So at the fireside chat, just to show you how kind of crazy life works, at the fireside chat, I told people that my favorite book was The Little Prince, and somebody came up to me. This person is the general manager, so it's the highest level position at a tech park, and they're looking for foreign companies to be able to, they basically just want to give free space at a tech park, because for them it promotes their tech park, and they have quite a bit of global companies, but the more global companies they have, the more prestige they get. And so they offered us to come check out their tech park and to see if maybe we would want to have offices there at some point. So we went there and we met with those officials, and we met with the contacts for the government officials. And we just talked about kind of if we wanted to move to a larger place in China, what would our requirements be? How many employees we would have? What would they do? How would we think of perhaps growing Chengdu? Yada yada yada. It was really interesting. And as Yves said, yeah, any questions, post them in there, because right now I've been talking for like 20 minutes, no questions. I guess I'm interesting. I'll say it's because I'm interesting. The next thing I did, back to Shanghai. The first people I met in Shanghai, EOS Asia. I'm right now in EOS Asia's office. I've been in EOS Asia's offices twice now since I've been in Shanghai, but I met with the guys, EOS Asia, Joe and Dafeng, and also Myra, previously from EOS Gravity. So I met with them, and yeah, we had a really good time that night. We talked about a bunch of different ideas, and we talked about some improvements. So for those of you who are interested in what do we call those? Block explorers? Yeah, my favorite one recently has clearly become my EOS kit. So myeoskits.com, if maybe somebody can put that in the chat, myeoskit.com. It's built by the guys at EOS Asia. They're the guys who build the backend for the EOS Go platform a while back, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Very good developers. They have a really good team. And yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Ian. So that thing right there, the Block Explorer My EOS Kit, which now has a voting portal in it. It also has guides to link to scatter and guides to to do multiple things on the chain. You can also do proxies now, and a lot of these features. I'll pat myself on the back. A lot of these recent features were added because of the talks that we had the first night that I came over, and they're working on other features right now. Talk right now. I was checking out their toolkit and I said, oh, it'd be great if you, and it'd be great if you. So right now their developers are working because of ideas that I gave them. So at EOS Nation, we don't have developers, we don't build stuff. So right now I'm just telling other block producers to build stuff that look cool because they can and I can't. And they just want to know what does the community want? And we represent the community. Token spam filter, yeah, I know, that was awesome. So yeah, so that's one thing that I did not tell. But thanks, Denis, for reminding. So that's one of the reasons why I really like it. So my main reason why I like this particular Block Explorer, it's incredibly fast. So when you load it, it actually checks a bunch of API endpoints and it checks the latency and it changes based on which one is faster for you. So it always optimizes based on where you are. So that's one cool feature. The other cool feature is what they added, which is what Denis said, which is the spam filter. So basically, we've been getting a lot of spam on EOS because you can purchase, I guess, messages. You can purchase lines and you can send them out to people. And basically, they're just little messages and, little things. Hey, buy my token or blah, blah, blah. It's basically advertisement. And they've included a small filter where you just click a button. I think it's on by default. And basically, it just removes all small transactions, like Denis said. Anything smaller than 0.0001 EOS is ignored. And so you get to see a cleaner view of your Explorer, of your account, or whatever it is you're looking. So check it out. Super good thing. EOS Asia guys, I really like them. Super good guys. Been working with them for a while. And in this trip specifically, I've been able to really connect with them more. So you've seen that in our channel, they've been posting stuff. They're not spamming. I'm asking them to spam because I really like their product and I think you guys should go check it out. I then met with Cannon, so EOS Cannon, and EOS Cannon talked very fruitful. So EOS Cannon is also focused on community engagement, and in China they have one of the largest in terms of numbers. So not necessarily in terms of users, they have roughly, I think, 50 to 60,000 users, but in terms of funds that their users control, it is, I believe, the largest. So the way that they separate their tokens, or the way that they separate their rooms and how they separate kind of the communication is by amount of tokens that people hold. So they've got groups forever. For example, if you've got more than 1 million tokens, well, you're in that group. If you've got between, let's say, 500 to 900,000 tokens, then you're in this group, etc. And so you go down the chain. And what it does is it stimulates conversation, like-minded or like-asseted users, if that makes sense. And then what that does create really, really interesting conversation to be able to see, are there issues or concerns or topics of conversation that are that can be somewhat singled out based on the amount of tokens that you own? And it seems as though yes. So one of the cool things is that apparently that for them, what they see is that the token holders that have between roughly 100 to 200,000 EOS tokens are the most knowledgeable and participate the most. So they have enough skin in the game to be able to participate, to be able to want to affect change on the chain, but they don't have enough that they actually have enough time to be able to do this. Like this amount is big enough for them. It's not like they're multi-billionaires kind of thing. So very, very interesting. Talk to them. And one of the challenges encountered right now, being a community engagement focused block producer, is that our token holders are mainly in Telegram, and most of the token holders in China are using WeChat. And we do have some channels that kind of intertwine, but it's very difficult for Chinese to come onto Telegram. One, because of the English aspect, but also because of the VPN aspect. So everything we're doing right now, I'm always behind VPN. That slows down the connection, and it's really difficult. So that is one big challenge. Now, the challenge for Westerners to go on WeChat is, and one of the challenges with WeChat is that on WeChat, you can only have 500 people per channel. It limits at 500 people per channel. So imagine a group like Cannon who has, let's say, 50,000 people. They've got more than 100 channels. And so you're segregating these people all the time. So that's kind of a down feature of WeChat. But the cool thing about WeChat is there's integrated live translation. Integrated translation. It's not live. You need to click a button and then do it, but it is integrated. It's really easy. So what we did is we launched a global community initiative, and we created the first WeChat group where we focused specifically on inviting people from both our communities that have skin in the game, that regularly participate in meaningful, respectful discussions, regardless of whether or not we agree with them. They're respectful and they're meaningful in terms of their discussion. They're knowledgeable. And it's the first channel that doesn't necessarily only block producers, because we have block producer communication with other block producers, but really this has devs, it has regular token holders, it has venture capitalists, investors, it has block producers, and it has just members from the community as well. And so we created that. No, WeChat does not use a decentralized blockchain backend, not at all. No, not at all. So yeah, I'm just laughing. The big reasons why people don't want to use WeChat is because they say Big Brother's always watching. So I just find that funny, a little echo thing. Now, Elim, I just see that Elim did the QR code for this. Now, most of you won't be try to join, because right now we're over 100 users on the channel right now. What you need to do is you need to add me. You can add me as a user, and I can add the channel. So my ID, I'm going to write it down. So if you want to join, I'm going to write this down. If you want to join the global EOS community WeChat group, you need to add me. Okay. Please add user, and then my user is super simple. It's my first last name, Yves. So just add me. Once you add me, I'll be able to add you in the channel. Cool. So just do that. Did somebody just delete my comment? No. Thank you, Denis. Bro, ask you about what is fish dish regarding water pressure. Man, okay, so I'll say that my biggest issue right now with being in China is goddamn internet that's super slow. That's kind of a pain in the bum, because of, it's not that the internet's slow, but I do everything out of VPN. So that's my biggest. And then the other thing is that we're quite on a budget while we're traveling, so we're really not spending very much, like really, really little. And the thing is, when you're spending like $5 a night or $20 hotel room for 2 people, one of the biggest things is there's no water pressure. And so you try to wash your hair, there's no water pressure. My hair is getting longer, so I can't wash my hair. I'm like under this little dinky little shower head, and I can't can't get the shampoo out of my hair. So my requirement now so when Martin is the one that's booking our hotels, I tell him, just make sure there's good water pressure. One is internet. Give me good internet. I need good internet. Number two, it needs to be water pressure. It needs to have a strong water pressure. So anyways, that's kind of a little à côté, stupid little thing, but yeah, it makes it more personal. So after meeting Cannon, yes, we create that global EOS community. Like I said, if you want to join, add me, Yves Larose, all in one word, YVESLAROSE, add me, and I'll be able to add you guys. The last thing I want to talk about, and then good for tonight, I see that we're coming up on the time, and I'm in EOS Asia's office. I'm going to get kicked out at some point. The last thing I want to talk about is I met with Gravity so EOS Gravity. EOS Gravity has the largest of numbers in China. There are over roughly 130 or 140,000 users. They're incredibly large. So we met with Ocean, one of their founders today, spent the afternoon with him, talked about, they're also very much like us, community engagement focused and very much education focused. And so we talked about how we could collaborate with them. So I can't really say very much right now. There is something that we're drafting. We do have an idea in mind. Yeah, if this works out, this is going to be really, really good. And yeah, good times. So like I said, the people right now that we've met, everybody's been incredibly great, talking to people face to face, meeting them, talking about kind of what the issues are, the concerns are, where the next steps are, the goals, what's good, and just talking EOS. Like, we can talk forever. I've been talking right now 30 minutes to myself. Basically, you guys are just listening. You guys are a great crowd, super quiet, makes it really easy for me. The beginning was kind of hard. So anyways, super good times, talk forever about EOS, building one block at a time, building our future one block. Screw that up.